So welcome back everyone to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan here. For today on the show, what can I say? I'm already speechless and we haven't even started yet. We have on the show the incredible, the amazing, the badass, the superstar, the one and only, the legendary, even a superhero. Let's find out why. Niki, how are you today?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Doing fantastic. I mean, what better way to have an incredible super badass Wednesday than to be chatting with someone as badass as you? You know what I mean?
Thank you.
There you go. Now, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow, helps a lot. But also, on the description below, you're going to find all of Niki's social media. Let's follow her, and let's find out why she's super badass. Now, without further more, let's jump in. So, I want to start this whole conversation by throwing out the first question, which is, when was that moment, right? That hit you, that basically told you, like, you know what? This is going to be my career now. This is going to be where I start my journey. Where did it all happen, basically?
It happened a long time ago. I was 13 years old, and I actually got to see the musical Starlight Express, which most of you probably haven't heard of because it's really old. But it's a musical where trains come alive in the form of actors on roller skates. And they go on this mission together to, help a boy kind of thing. And I saw that, and I was 13 and I thought, this is the coolest thing anybody could ever do on the planet. And it would be so cool if I got to do that as well.
And once you decided, right, this is going to be my passion now, this is where I start from now on, what were some of those, those first challenges you encountered when you were making it into a more pro career, let's say?
Well, one of the first challenges was that I'm from a really small town. My hometown has a few thousand inhabitants. There was no local theater or anything, no local theater classes, anything like that. Luckily, my teacher in middle school decided to start a theater group a year after I saw that musical. So I got to start there. But until then, I didn't even know how to go about this.
Do you remember the feeling of that first audition? Was it terrifying, exciting, or you know what? It was just a complete disaster with a lesson you never forget.
My first audition that I did back then as part of that theater group was certainly terrifying, but I was also very delusional about things. So it wasn't that bad. My first professional audition as a musical theater actress many, many years later was for the tour production of Grease in Europe. And just in Hamburg, where I was, they auditioned over 8,000 people, which means you got about 7 minutes to learn that choreography on stage along with 100 other people. And we were going up in groups of 8 in front of a jury of I think 6 or 7 people. And the whole thing was 15 seconds. So you got pretty much 1 or 2 seconds to convince the jury that you should be taken to the next round. And that was terrifying. I mean, there's no finite getting rid of anxiety, right? It always comes back creeping in different ways. But for the most part, I'm a lot calmer now, most cases. Sometimes it will happen that they demand something in an audition that I know I'm very emotional about. That's when I get a little nervous, or I get to audition with someone whom I've seen on TV or screen before and I have a lot of respect for, then I still get nervous. But for the most part, I'm doing a lot better now.
And so you decided from Germany to move to LA then?
I did. I did musical theater back in Germany, and I decided I wanted to switch to film and TV, and LA seemed like the best place to go for the Western world.
Totally. And what were some of those, once you landed the, new country, new language, what were some of your expectations, how you felt, how was that, how was that transition from living in Europe to live now, to switch into a new continent, basically?
Oh man. I had done it before. So I had been going abroad before, first time when I was 12, when I was 14. So I had plenty of experience, but I had no idea what I was getting into with Hollywood because I didn't know anybody here. Usually people have relatives, they know someone. I came here all on my own. I had no idea how the industry would work. I assumed there, would be a way to audition and then I would just have to work hard. And eventually one of those auditions was going to work out. And then being here, I found out that there's a lot more to it, that I had no way of anticipating. And it's the other country. It's almost the other side of the world from Europe, Los Angeles. You leave everything behind that everyone you care about. Even with WhatsApp and technology nowadays, you don't have as much ability to talk to those people because of the time difference. And people really underestimate how much that takes.
And moving on like a little bit. Tell me how this process of creating a character works for you. Is it more like putting on a mask, or perhaps peeling back layers of yourself?
That's a great question. So I'm a Meisner trained actress, and for me, it's a mixture of both. I use my own emotion and I peel back layers so I can allow myself to feel and express things that me as Niki would usually not allow herself to feel or do or show, right? But I also add characterizations on the outside, like physicalities, accents, mannerisms, a way of moving, a way of interacting with people that is a complete outside of myself thing. It's like a technicality that I add to my character just to give it some color and something else, something interesting to look at. So for me, yeah, it's a mix of both.
Okay, okay. And what has been like the wildest thing you have done to prepare for a role?
Wild experiences are always when I actually go out there into the world as my character. And I have done that in preparation. Like I would go somewhere where nobody knows me, hopefully, and I would not like cause a scene or disturb anybody in any way, but just like living as that person, doing the accent, using that name, seeing what that's like. That's always an interesting experience.
And do you have like a specific practice, when you have the character and you go outside, do you go to a specific place to try a little bit of your character here, or is it just like I'm going out and let's see what happens?
It really depends on the character and what I'm building for that role. I try to live out the experiences that lead up to the story of the play or the movie that I'm shooting.
Okay. Okay, that's pretty cool. I once spoke with an actress, and she was telling me that every single time when she has a character, she will go do the groceries as her character.
Mhm.
So then she can see, so then she can like practice like a little bit, And it's so interesting because it shows you that at the end of the day, it's all about what works for you, right? Sure, you can take things from different people, from different books, things like that, but at the end, it has to be you who is creating their own thing, because at the end, it's you who are going to present the character, and it's you who have to be comfortable to it, so you can, just express it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's exactly the same in Hollywood in general. Like the only way to do this is to forge your own path, so to say.
And have you ever found yourself accidentally becoming one of your characters in real life?
It did happen once when I was still in high school with that theater group. I was doing the best Christmas pageant ever. The movie version came out late last year, and I was playing, I think her name was Grace Bradley, like the mom that has to like get all these kids together to do the Christmas pageant. And there's these awful kids. They're just talking and making noise and disturbing all the time. And unfortunately, that did become the dynamic in the play preparation that like I was the one trying to put the entire group together and shepherding everybody and also a little bit younger and less experienced. So I was kind of like being the mom to everyone outside of the stage work, and that was incredibly exhausting. And I noticed it halfway through, but I did not have the ability back then to switch that. But it was such a strong learning curve that I decided that I will not allow this to happen again.
how at the same time, right? Like, how do you protect your own emotions when you're constantly digging into into someone else's life, basically, and perhaps that character you are going to play has like a little bit of trauma or things like that. So how you are able to kind of separate them and not let those emotions you are digging, right, to affect what is the real you, let's say.
So in the Meisner acting technique, there is no separation between me and my character, like similar to method acting, actually. The difference is, though, that in method acting, you dive into your own past experiences to pull emotion from there. In Meisner, we dive into imagination and pull the emotion from there. So it's a lot more about just being sensitive in the first place and allowing like minor things to really affect me. And that way I don't have to go into big trauma or create big drama in the first place. It's a much softer approach to acting, you could say. And just like I pull it from my imagination, I've learned to also just let it go within a few deep breaths.
Okay. And do you have like a specific ritual or something before you either jump on set or on stage? Like, do you have something about it that kind of put your mind into the character to be like, okay, let's make this happen?
Yeah, I do take a minute to kind of like meditate and reset and set the intention that I am enhancing this part of myself for now and maybe dropping these other parts for a little bit. As I do so, I ask for guidance and alignment in this character work so I can give justice and do my best work possible for this character to tell their story. And then I move into the costume for that character. That
Okay.
helps me a lot, especially shoes. Shoes are such a big thing because you just walk different in any pairs of shoes you have. So because your feet are different on the ground, everything above that is different as well. So that really helps me to literally step into a character.
And how do you break character? Like, how do you, so let's say, right, you finish your project, you're good to go, it's done. How you are able to kind of separate and and return to be the real you.
Yeah, just take a few deep breaths, reset, let it go, get rid of the clothes, put my own stuff back on, and do something fun.
I like it. There you go. And tell me, do you feel somehow European actors have like a harder time breaking into Hollywood, or do you think being a foreign can sometimes be an advantage somehow?
It's probably both. For me personally, I always get pointed out that I have an accent. In the beginning, that was really hard because I had never even thought of that. Like, I spoke really well English before I came here, but obviously my accent was all over the place because I had learned British in school, then I lived in New Zealand, then I did musical theater where accents were all over the place, and then I came to America. So I had a really weird accent, and I wasn't able to hear the nuances of those accents yet. Like I could tell, okay, this person sounds different than that one, but I couldn't tell if that's British, Irish, let alone the nuances within that. So the accent is a big deal. It feels like an impossible battle because you just can't catch up on a lifetime of someone else hearing it on TV or anything. Like I did not learn English from birth on. I learned it in school. I didn't have parents that spoke English, and I did not I didn't watch any media in English or anything like that. So it feels impossible to catch up on this. Thankfully, I was able to finally break that cycle last year when I did some intense accent work. Not just accent reduction, I had done that before, but I did some intense accent work on specific English accents like British or Southern or anything like that. And learned that I could actually do these really well. And at that point, I decided to keep my natural accent because now I can live in both worlds. I can have my European uniqueness. As I do now, I'm speaking in my natural accent, but I can also switch to any other accent that I like if I want to apply for an American role.
And do you think Hollywood is doing enough to embrace like international talent, or do you feel there are still barriers for foreign actors?
I definitely feel there's a lot of barriers for foreign actors. I also, in parts, understand why they were happening because it is a very competitive industry as is, and there's a lot of actors for not a whole lot of roles out there. I do think that Hollywood is still the dominant player in entertainment in the Western world. And I think it has to have a certain cultural openness to give justice to that part. Otherwise, other countries will go ahead and expand their own industries and take away from the market share that Hollywood is holding right now.
And has being like a German actress in LA ever led to a little bit of typecasting, or have you been able to break out of certain, let's say, stereotypes?
It's definitely led to some sort of typecasting and also the opposite, which is why I was so adamant about the accent. Because if you look at traditional storytelling in America, roles with a German accent are Nazis. And for American storytelling, that is still one of their most favorite villain stories to tell, is to have a good German Nazi villain in it. Not that that's wrong in the first place. It's just there's so much more potential for good villains nowadays. And I do believe that storytelling has to evolve and has to become more layered. Personally, I think villains with layers are a lot more interesting to watch than villains that just have outdated, dumb ideas, right? So I think Hollywood is doing itself like disfavor, that's a word, by keeping those stereotypes up versus embracing the colorfulness and the diversity that is already here for telling better and more interesting and more relatable stories.
Yeah.
Quite
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I will add to this. I write a lot as well, and I write for stage. And I've started writing most of my characters for stage gender neutral because while there are a lot of aspects that apply more to a specific gender or a specific race or a specific sexual orientation or anything like that, I think grounding the story in that reason is a little bit weak. And it's a lot more interesting to ground it in something relatable to everyone. Like I can say, like I hold a lot of limiting beliefs and stuck energy for being a woman. And I do think there are situations in my life where that are a lot harder because people don't take me seriously. Now I can tell that story from a place of being a woman, but it's way stronger if I tell it from the place of feeling inadequate.
Mm.
Because if I tell it from the place of being inadequate, now it becomes relatable to everyone. I don't offend any men. I can actually make men understand why I feel this way instead of just, you know, blaming or enhancing those ideas that are already there.
And like, what advice, what advice would you give to other international actors who are kind of, yeah, who dream of making it into Hollywood?
I kind of agree with Willem Dafoe at this point that it's really hard to give advice in the first place because you really have to find your own way in this business. There is no given path that works for everyone at all. You have to make your own. What I will say this though, you have to be prepared before coming here. You have to have credits. You have to have worked back in your home country. You have to have, performed on stage or done a festival run or press and awards from all of that because you can't just come here and hope that things are just going to work out. You have to have a good backing in that sense that you already are, and that is the wording actually, exceptional and extraordinary. That is what you have to prove to get a visa as an artist to America. So you already have to have the confidence and the backing that that is true, finances to make it happen, and then a lot of persistence. A lot of persistence because this is a pressure cooker. Everything that is not in alignment, life will throw right in your face and make you figure it out. And if you're not ready to do what it takes, then this is not the path for you.
Yeah, if you don't accept it and move forward, life will even put you on the ground even harder.
Yeah, exactly. It really is a pressure cooker, right? Like it just really enhances everything and makes it more. And I had no idea how hard it was going to be. I thought it was, just the auditions and just a numbers game of doing enough auditions. But there's so much more going into it that I couldn't have known ahead of time. And I don't want to talk anybody out of it because it's also very rewarding. And I love the person that I've become, but I have become that person through failing a lot more than most people fail so incredibly much. There's so much not like working out or so much you have to struggle for and really fight for in so many different ways So I'm really happy with who I have become because of that. And I don't regret doing it because of that. But I really want to emphasize for anybody international who thinks about doing this to do as much research as you possibly can and be as prepared as you possibly can. And then be aware that even with that, it's still going to be a very uphill battle.
Tell me, what is like something about being an actor that no one ever talks about, but they absolutely should?
I think we've covered quite a bit of this, which is the authenticity to the fullness of a character, to really embrace that. But that's covered. That's ground we already covered. So, is there anything else? Intimacy scenes are weird. There's more talking about it now, thankfully, but they're still weird. The I do think the PR that goes around that is still pretty weird too, because when you do a romantic movie with somebody, you kinda have to, like, nobody says it, but you kinda expect to play the PR that way as well. Like, so the fans can wonder, oh, is there something really going on or not? Which can be really awkward, especially like what the partners have to deal with there, right? Like if you're in a relationship and your co-actors in a relationship, man, that's a toll the partners have to pay. Yeah, but I do think like overall there's so much more talking about everything that's going on in the industry now that's on a good track.
I mean, I do think that a lot of communication has to go through, you know what
Mhm.
I mean, in order for the relation not to be affected. Because even though that that is not real, emotions happen. We're human and things like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, and it kind of has to be real in the moment, right? Because the camera can tell whether you're lying or not. And I don't think there's too much of a problem with that because I don't think it takes away from like the emotion doesn't take away from the marriage, but I do think the public experience can of like, having to do all these pictures with with your co-star and all of that. I did one film where I had just met the actor for about like 5 minutes the night before at an event. And then the next day, the first scene that we shot was post sex in bed together. That was it. That is awkward. I mean, we both did our best. It wasn't like it was the best experience it could have been in that setting, right? But we're like, as actors, we're really not machines like that. And you get great directors that understand this and are very respectful of it and know how to direct you well and give you good instructions. But there's also directors that treat you, I don't think they're very much up there, but like sometimes, beginning directors don't know how to talk to actors yet very well, and then they just treat you like an object, which can be a little difficult to the point of hurtful. I mean, it's a lot better now when you have an intimacy coordinator, right? And again, when you have a good director, that really changes the whole thing. And when you have chemistry and are on the same page with your co-star, that also helps a lot, right? If you have a co-star that is open to talking this out ahead of time, to, setting healthy boundaries, safe words, whatever it has to be, right? And or who's also open to just going with the flow if you're both on the same page, right? All of that is fine. It just becomes tricky when there is no direction and is this like this void of not talking about something or figuring something out that really should be figured out ahead of time. That's when it gets weird.
and what motivates you? We all have those days. Basically, we want to quit. It's inevitable. Happens to all of us, regardless of what we do. So how you stay, yeah, how you stay motivated on a day that perhaps you're not feeling so good. Let's say.
I will say this. I do think my journey has been really, really hard because I came to America. I had a year of going to class and then starting to work, and then I experienced some pretty severe loss in my family, and then the pandemic hit, and within the pandemic and the loss, I had to get all the evidence that I needed to apply for a talent visa while I was unable to work because of the pandemic. And there were so many days and situations in these 6 years that I've been here that I really wanted to quit. And this is going to sound really cheesy, but there's two reasons I didn't. The first one is if I think of alternative things that I could be doing, nothing is even remotely as cool and exciting and as intriguing as what I'm doing here, even though it's hard. Like there's no cooler version of myself that I can think of than what I'm doing and who I'm becoming right now. And then the other was that even though there was so much hardship going on, there were also a lot of blessings happening at the same time, and kind of like life or God or source or whatever you believe in supporting me in this journey that I was on. Like both times that I applied for the talent visa, I got it faster and easier than anybody else I know, which made me believe that okay, someone wants me to be here and actually believes in my being and in my purpose here in this world. And that really sustained me.
You don't have to about the mic because you're basically killing it here. So I love this. Yes. Yes. And my last question. So we can all enjoy and relax after an epic chat here. What do you think that could be the best title for this episode?
Ooh, that's a good question. What would be the best title? Make it happen? Push through?
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh man, I'm usually really creative with these things. But we talked about so many things. How about we are the masters of our own fate?
Okay.
Maybe that may be a good title.
The masters of our
own fate.
Masters of our own fate. Ooh, okay, I'll take it. Yeah. Jawohl. I mean, at the end, what can I say? You know, Niki, the fact that you're doing what makes you happy, it's really cool. You know, the fact that you have traveled from different places and you have worked on this passion for so many years now. I mean, that's incredible. You know, we all know that focusing on something that you want, it usually can be a little bit of a pain in the butt. Sometimes it can be annoying, but hey, you are doing it. You are putting the work to it. You are showing out there that everything is possible regardless where you come from. The fact that, as I was saying, you moved now in a new country in LA, away from family, but you are working on something that drives you. That's badass. That's pretty cool. And I'm super sure there's people out there who sees you as a role model or who sees you as someone who is getting things done. And I do think that is especially super positive message, especially now in this crazy era we're currently living. The fact that we can see people like you who are doing what makes them happy, that's pretty cool.
Thank you so much for saying that and acknowledging that. I really appreciate that you're seeing me in that way.
Totally. You're super badass. Now I discover why. There you go. And I do want to thank also those who stayed the whole episode. Let us know what you think in the comments below. But also, by this point, come on, you should know why Niki's super badass. I mean, don't we all? So let's follow her. Let's share some love. Let's make her viral. Hashtag Team Niki. And again, thank you for making this happen. Keep shining out there. Keep rocking. Keep kicking ass. And I'll be definitely seeing you in the next one.